It's really important to make people feel comfortable, not necessarily just to do what is required, but to anticipate what another person's level of comfort is and then cater to that. An example of this would be, I put a heater in my boss's office a while ago. He didn't ask for it. The company will pay for it. It's just a business expense. It's not like it's a huge deal. I'm not paying for it out of my own pocket or anything like that. It's just something I know he wouldn't ask for it for himself, but he appreciates having it if it's there. So I expensed it, put it there. He walks in his office, and in the wintertime, he has something that gives him a little bit of extra comfort. He appreciates it. And is it about the money? No, it's not about the money at all. Is it a personal sacrifice that I made? No, the company paid for it. It's just something I know that he wouldn't selfishly go out of his way to ask for, but when it's there, he appreciates it. Maybe it's paying $5 for snack bars or something to put there by the coffee machine. And it's something we all share, but it's a little bit of an extra amenity. And people feel a little more welcome when they are in the office. Is it a big deal? No, it's not a big deal. But it's something that just helps people feel valued. And you can't really overstate the value of that. Because the truth of the matter is that people will forget what you do and they'll forget what you say, but they will always remember how you make them feel. And quite often we wind up in life tempted to do what is right, but we don't necessarily go that extra mile to do things with a mind for what's going to make people feel more valued, feel more respected, feel more cherished. And an example of maybe what I'm talking about would be, imagine if you pay a kid to come and rake the leaves up in your yard. And the kid comes over and you give him a rake with the handle coming off and some of the tongs are broke off of it. And, you know, it's still totally functional. It's just not in good shape. You say, go rake the yard. And, you know, you pay him what you agreed to pay him and such and so forth. It's fine. Or, different scenario, imagine if you give the kid a good rake, you know? It's a new one, it's in good shape. And then you provide a few extra amenities. You say, hey, here's the restroom if you happen to need it. And you give him some Gatorade and a snack halfway through and appreciate the work he's doing, right? Well, now that person is more likely to want to come back and rake those leaves again because it was a positive experience. You went above and beyond what the bare minimum necessity would be, and you made a person's experience a good one. Sometimes that's important, and we need to think about how service isn't about compensation in terms of financial reward. It's not necessarily how much a person's salary is. It's whether you're doing things to make a person feel like they're seen and valued and appreciated. And this is something that's true in our interpersonal relationships and romantic relationships. It's true in the workplace and so many different parts of life. We start off with the question of, am I doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing everything that I need to be doing to check all the boxes? And what we're missing is that we're not putting ourselves in the shoes of other people to ask the question of what it is that they would feel better if we did. We're not really conscientious. We're just trying to check the box and be able to go home at the end of the day saying that we've done our due diligence. But have we really done the right things? Micro messages matter a lot. And if you don't really care about a person, you're doing the right things, but you don't really care. You're just trying to make sure that you're checking all the boxes. Well, it's just one of those things where you can have two people that do basically the same thing. They deliver the same message. They just produce different results because one of them actually cares and the other one is just trying to make sure that they do what their job requires them to do. Instead of pursuing success, we really should be focusing on things that we love. And, you know, one example of this that comes to mind would be Maxis Studios, the company founded by Will Wright, who would go to create the SimCity franchise that was quite well loved for a long time. And Will Wright started off with this passion for creating things in gaming instead of just blowing them up, because a lot of times games are all about shooting things and all of that kind of stuff. But Will Wright found that he liked creating things, and so he created a city building game, and SimCity became increasingly popular over the course of the 90s and early 2000s. And then eventually it got bought out by Electronic Arts. And unfortunately, Electronic Arts was essentially just a large company trying to make money. It was rather soulless. It wasn't particularly passionate about the vision and the why that Will Wright had brought to the table with Maxis. And so it was just a matter of time before the inevitable loss of culture ended the SimCity franchise. The game was tone deaf. New sequels didn't live up to fan expectations. And then at some point, the franchise just got mothballed. And then a few years later, the Cities Skylines franchise was born. And for many years after, it carried that mantle of king of that genre in the gaming world. Because if you don't love what you're doing, and you're just doing it because it's another asset in your company's portfolio, you're not really going to do the right things. It goes back to something similar to what I was talking about in terms of anticipating people's needs, anticipating what people are going to appreciate, what's going to make them feel comfortable, and what's going to give them an enjoyable experience. When you're trying to put other people first and you're approaching what you do through a lens of service, when you're trying to say, how can I do better today to maybe make someone's day better or maybe make someone's life better, you're going to make an entirely different set of choices than if you're just trying to check the box that you did a technically good job. There's a lot of people who can say, well, I put in a lot of hours of work, or I tried really hard. And that's true, they did. But they didn't have passion and love for what they're doing, guiding their underlying philosophy. And as a result of that lack of passion, they wind up potentially falling short, even if they're still trying to do many of the right things. So as we're talking about success, let's talk about the importance of diversity. It's interesting how we increasingly on the internet and in our social circles, especially the way the world has become more polarized here in the United States over political issues in recent times, we retreat to our silos of choice, and we start to say, I'm going to shut out anyone who has an incorrect belief, anyone who has a different perspective that is a wrong perspective. I'm going to just not have that person in my circle. Look at the kind of videos that you watch on YouTube, and I would ask you this question. What is in your recommended video feed? Well, to answer that, it's probably going to be the sort of videos that you want to see. I mean, I would hope so, if the algorithm works the way it should. You're going to get more of what you already know you like. But what if that results in you only seeing more things that validate a flawed perspective and prevent you from being open-minded to consider alternative ideas? We need diversity. We need different perspectives and opinions, because we aren't enough if we're just relying on our own ideas and things that we come up with. We need other people's inputs to have a balanced approach to life. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, it's not about just checking the box and saying, well, I'm going to deliberately include other perspectives because I think that that would be a healthy thing to do. More specifically, it's about understanding that including other perspectives isn't just something we should do. It's something we need to do. Because different types of thinking, different ideas, they're sort of like commodities. If you don't have them, you have a imbalanced economy. Economic theory has proven that if you try to create an economy where you don't have an element of healthy trade with other countries, you're going to have a lower quality of life across the entire economy in almost every sector, whereas free trade will always prevail as a better practice in business. The United States is a very well-connected country from a trade perspective. North Korea, on the other hand, is not. So if you look at North Korea and say, well, are they self-sufficient? Well, the answer is probably yes. I think they produce just about everything that they have in their country. So yes, they are quite self-sufficient. But are they able to experience a higher quality of life? And the answer to that is probably no. Because they're not invested in relationships which lift the tide for all boats. They are just out to essentially be the best of everything all themselves. So people who work together and combine their talents and combine their ideas so that we have a well-rounded marketplace of thought, well, they're going to have a richer society, a richer economy than groups of people who exist in a silo and always try to shut out the rest of the world. I was thinking about how to take a fraction, take a decimal and convert it to a fraction. So like, for example, 0.5 is 1/2. We know this, right? But if I asked you, how do you, on paper with a pen and pencil, how do you convert a decimal to a fraction? You'd think it's simple until you try to explain it, and then you realize, you know, I can kind of do it in my head, and I guess I should know, but I kind of don't know. And that's when you realize, well, wait a second, like basic math, I don't have to do it all the time. So here I am, an adult, pretty well-rounded. I like to think I'm pretty well-rounded in terms of literacy and things like that. But I'm struggling to explain a concept which is very simple. So what happens when we have ideas about politics, we have ideas about what's right and wrong in society, we're very opinionated, we're very sure of ourselves, and we think we know everything, but the reality is we're operating on at a fourth grade level when it comes to what we actually know. That's kind of concerning, because it's one thing to be ignorant to a point, right? To not know things. And I don't know if that even really is ignorance. To not know something, that's just to be human. But ignorance is when you also don't know that you don't know. You don't know that you have a gap in your knowledge. You think you know everything. It's like the emperor's new clothes. It's one thing to be standing in your bedroom or your shower naked by yourself. You know you're naked. It's another thing entirely to be walking down the street naked while you think that you're wearing some high-end apparel, because you're ignorant. You're ignorant because you don't see the obvious. You don't see what everyone else can plainly see, because you have not just got gaps in your knowledge, you're actually self-deceived. And there's a lot to be said for the fact that the people who are the most ignorant, the people who have the most gaps in their knowledge, often have the most confidence to go out there and act like they know everything. They've got something smart to say all the time. They're in control in every situation. They know how the world would be better if it was rewritten according to their philosophies. They know that the ideas in their echo chamber of choice are the right ones. And they're usually openly hostile to anybody who doesn't share their worldview. But they also haven't done their math. They haven't done their research. They don't actually know what they're talking about. And that's a dangerous place to be. When you're not very well informed, but you think you're very well informed. You're not inclined to serve others, but you think that you are a really good example of servant leadership. You're a person who is corrupt, but you think that you represent the epitome of good. Well then, because you believe that you are capable of doing no wrong, you believe you represent good even if you aren't doing good, then at some point you become capable of doing a lot of evil because you don't really have any willingness to put checks on your own power or to review your position and course correct. So I guess in closing, there's this challenge, and that challenge is to stop pointing fingers at other people. Stop pointing fingers at the failures of the system. Stop criticizing what other people are doing. And instead, ask the question of what are you doing? What are you doing to better your own life? What are you doing to advance your own knowledge? What are you doing to make other people feel more comfortable, to be more thankful for the blessings in life, to challenge yourself to grow and to find new ways of approaching life so that tomorrow is better, more enlightened than yesterday? We like to say the world would be better if some mysterious they would do something different about it. We like to think that politicians are to blame or the system is to blame. But the truth of the matter is, it's not anyone else's job to rip you off the couch and make you learn something new. It's not someone else's job to make you invest in your health or change your diet or study something or practice a skill or be more kind. It's true, environmental factors sometimes do play a role in our lives and influence us, and that's why it's important to surround yourself with the right kind of people and sometimes leave an environment which is encouraging self-limiting beliefs in your life. But really, in the end, it's up to you. It's up to each one of us to chart a course for our future that we believe in. And if we don't, that's okay too, because maybe our destiny is just to be the disposable oil and the cogs of the machine, to live for a while and then to fade into the background noise of the cosmos. But if we want to be something more than that, if we want our life to mean something in a way that's inspiring, then we have to be willing to change our actions, to change our behaviors, and to look at every day with the intentionality to say, I don't want tomorrow to be exactly the same as today. So I'm going to do something different about it. Maybe I'm going to read that book for 15 minutes. Maybe I'm going to keep a journal. Maybe I'm going to take a break from social media for a little while. Maybe I'm going to fast for a day out of the week and make a point to reduce the carbs in my diet. Whatever it might be. At some point, if you want change, it has to be now. And you've got to stop blaming the world for everything that isn't right in your life. And instead, accept the fact that you're part of the world. And quite possibly, if it's not the way it should be, it's your duty to do something about it. And in the end, when we ask ourselves what is it that we should do about it, it's not about forcing other people to do things or forcing them to see things our way. It's about embracing differences and then quietly living our lives in a way that we can get behind and believe in. It's about having a capacity to quietly set the example and be a role model, so other people will look at us and see us as a source of knowledge and wisdom and good stewardship, and perhaps embrace some of our traits and make them their own because they believe that what we're doing is good and inspiring. But you can't really teach others until you first learn how to listen and how to study and how to be willing to change yourself. If we just want to make a difference in the world and do good in the world, but we don't want to do anything that might push us out of our own comfort zone or might require us to embrace perspectives we're not comfortable with, well, we're not really going to do any good in the world, because you can't have an adventure if you're always refusing to take a step outside the door. As always, good luck on your adventure, and always try to do things, meditate on things which inspire you to be the best version of yourself. Till next time. Thanks so much for watching.